The Pleasantdale History Project is sponsored by Square. Square wants to let you know that it has the tools that can help shift your business and stay connected to your customers right now. Like, no matter if you're a restaurant, retail, or whatever, you can start selling online with Square in just minutes. There's no coding, no anything. Square, you can go to their online store. They can have curbside pickup, delivery, shipping to keep things and everybody a little safer during this COVID time. You can also buy digital gift cards for your customers, and they can support your businesses with all these tools that work together in one place. All you need is a Square account to get started. To see all the ways that your business can be helped out by Square, visit square.com. On our podcast today is Mr. Eric Busch. He is a teacher, a coach, a father. He is really doing everything in life that you can imagine. And he is going to talk to us today about an introduction to the Gilded Age. So let's go ahead and get started with our conversation with Mr. Busch. All right, so we're here in our first installment of the Pleasantdale History Project, and I'm joined with my guest, Mr. Eric Busch. You may know him from such amazing roles as 8th grade social studies teacher, 7th grade social studies teacher, and for 1 year only, a 7th grade science teacher. And he's also the author of Growing Up in LaGrange Park, The Tough Childhood That I Endured. So everybody,
Yeah,
we're
thank
here.
you for that, Mr. Madsen. It was a rough life. We only had two bathrooms. Could you imagine?
Oh
Only
my God.
two bathrooms. I don't know how we made it.
I'm not sure either. That sounds incredibly rough. Well, as the people listening to this podcast are going to know, we've ended the Civil War, and we're now moving on into the Gilded Age, and that particular topic might be a new one for a lot of our students. They probably haven't studied the Gilded Age before, so we wanted to bring you on here as the resident expert of the Gilded Age and chat with with us about a few of those things. So first off, Mr. Busch, what is Gilded Age? What does that term even mean?
Well, the term gilded, when you look it up in the dictionary, it means to cover with or as if with a thin layer of gold. So it's something that's sort of made to look beautiful and shiny and golden, when really underneath it lies something that's not nearly as valuable. So let's think, what kinds of things can actually be gilded? Um, let's see, like a trophy that you'd win at a sporting event.
Yes, uh-huh.
There's a gold player on the top, a figure on the top, but that's not real gold. It's just plastic made to look gold. Um, you could find jewelry that is something less valuable underneath, and then it's covered in gold. It's gold plated, which makes it look golden, but really it's not. And there's even other things like book pages. Sometimes you see the side of a book where it looks gold, and sometimes they actually use gold on that. Gold's really soft, and you can hammer it super duper duper thin, and cover things with it for not for relatively inexpensive price. So there are lots of things that are gilded,
Well,
but
one of
that's
the
not
things,
really.
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, you go.
One of the things you left off that list though is we're entering the Gilded Age, and we're generally talking about people in history. How could people be gilded? So I'm just wondering, like, why are they using this term gilded to kind of talk about people and really that entire country in that era?
Well, when what we just talked about was the definition of the word gilded, the literal definition of gilded, where things are actually covered in gold. The Gilded Age was not a time when people were actually covered in gold. They didn't dip themselves in gold. They didn't paint themselves in gold, but they were gilded in a different way, a more figurative way, a more symbolic way. So when we think for a second about how people can be gilded, well, there's a number of things you could think about, like a person who's fake, a person who acts one way but really is another, where they make themselves look good in certain situations, but really underneath there's something not so great. You could also, though, think about how people could physically gild themselves, right? So literally, they could gild themselves with makeup, with nice clothing. An extreme case of gilding themselves would be plastic surgery, where they actually physically change their outward appearance. But that kind of still leaves the question: how can an entire country be gilded? Well, the Gilded Age in the late 1800s and early 1900s was a time in America where things appeared really, really good. And there were things about America that were really, really, really good. But underneath it, there were some things that weren't so great. So, as we talk about the Gilded Age, we're going to talk about some big topics. One of them is the economics of the Gilded Age, the money of the Gilded Age. There was definitely a lot of it. There were some big businesses. There was an industrial revolution driving these companies to make more money and create more products than they ever had. There were people at the top of these businesses that were richer than anyone can even imagine. These were billionaires during the Gilded Age. They were billionaires then, which would be multi billionaires today. However, the workers at these companies, the people making the products that were making so much money for their owners, were working under terrible conditions, long hours, low pay, dangerous conditions, very few safety precautions taken. So you could see just in that one example of economics that there were things that were good. There were big businesses. There was lots of money. Things were growing and expanding. But underneath it were workers being mistreated, terrible conditions, and people living in poverty who were making the money for those in charge. Another topic we're going to be taking a look at is immigration. And immigration really had a lot to do with the Gilded Age because everybody wanted to be in America. Why wouldn't you want to be in a country where there's big businesses and job opportunities and lots of money, lots of growth?
Places where
Uh,
they said the road was paved with gold, right?
yeah, there's actually a movie called An American Tale where the mice were coming over on a ship during the Gilded Age. And the song they sang was, "There are no cats in America, and the streets are paved with cheese." And the reason they said that is they were coming to a country where they believed that they could have everything they wanted and nothing was dangerous. And this is the idea that America put out there, that things were great. Now, what was part of making America look so golden was another one of the topics we're going to take a look at in this unit, which was the dreamers and the builders. America was building things and creating things that were beautiful and that were unlike anything the rest of the world had ever seen. We're going to see America turn to beautiful architecture and buildings, create the first skylines and skyscrapers in history, create suspension bridges and other technology that leads the world. And so when people in other countries saw what was happening in America, it just looked so amazing and so new. And so they packed the boats full and floated across the ocean to be a part of it. However, when they arrived, it didn't take them long to realize that it was just gilded, that everything wasn't gold. It might have appeared that way, but the harsh reality of their job opportunities and their living conditions made them realize that it was pretty dark underneath that golden exterior.
Well, man, Mr. Busch, that was a perfect summary of what we're going to be looking at in this small little unit. And we'll have some future podcasts coming up talking about some economic vocabulary and talking about some major economic terms that they're going to need to know. But you hit it all, talking about some of the dreamers and the builders and the labor movement that we're going to talk about. This sounds like a pretty cool unit.
Oh yeah, this is an amazing era, and it's really cool because it's getting closer and closer to today. So there's photographs, and you start seeing instead of just paintings, and there's a lot more original things that we're going to be taking a look at.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate you joining us on our podcast, Pleasantdale History Project here. We're looking forward to some upcoming episodes, and maybe you'll join us for another episode or two.
I'd love to. Thanks so much for having me on, Mr. Madsen. You're the best.